What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Doggy Digital. Today, I'm going to go through my entire productivity system for peak performance on a daily basis and kind of what I use to actually stay productive. So let's start off with to-do lists because I think it's the easiest thing, and let's just dive right in. So for to-do lists, I've tried every different software out on the books. I've found that Todoist is the best as far as software on a computer, and then Google Tasks is also right up there with to-do list. I like Todoist better, but Google Tasks it's all right. It does sync with Google Calendar, so does Todoist, so I think that's really powerful. But personally, what I use as far as Todoist is I use the Power List, which is a concept built by Andy Frisella. If you didn't watch my video, I already did a full video on the Power List, and it's completely free. Give away all the secrets all for free here on my YouTube channel, so go watch that video. But yeah, the goal is to win the day. So we got 5 tasks. You're gonna write down your 5 tasks for every day. Then when you've completed that goal, you check off your tasks, and when you finish the day, you either get a win or a loss, and yeah, you either win the day or you lose the day. So the way that I've gone about not getting ever burnt out is screw it, delegate it, plan it. Those are the 3 different ways that you can do any sort of tasks, and I kind of mark all my tasks that way accordingly in my to-do list. So the kind of way that I do all this is either I screw the task, screw it, throw it away. Maybe it goes in the pile. I always archive it in case maybe I want to look at it later. It becomes something that's necessary, but if it's not necessary, throw it away. It's probably going to be 60-70% of your tasks. Just screw them, and that is going to be the case for most of your tasks. Now, the delegated tasks are those that I'm going to give off to my team, those that I'm not going to personally do myself, but that I'm going to have the team do, that I'm going to have my creative director or somebody on the team edit stuff, or deliverables are the big one for these, but also any sort of administrative tasks, anything like that. I always delegate those. And the third one is plan it. So I use Google Calendar. I really love Google Calendar, and I schedule everything throughout my whole day. My entire day is a schedule. So all the way from first thing in the morning all the way down, there is something in every time slot down to the minute that I do it. I update this afterwards as well. So I have a record of where I was at all times, and I can actually stay present in the moment. But I also do this because I really think that it's important to be able to see, okay, where did I waste this time? Where did I waste that time? I highly recommend you do a time study, and Google Calendar is a great way to do that. And I really do believe that Google Calendar is the best. Now in Google Calendar, I color code everything. So anything that's fitness is purple, anything that's family time is red, anything that's just general is orange. Like, I have color codes built up, so that way at the end of the week, I can just go in there and look at, okay, I wasted exactly this much time. And as I go on, my goal is to continually lessen the time that I waste every single week. And that has been a goal of mine for a while. So I do that every single week. Now, every week I do a week in review. I review the week by looking at those numbers, looking at some other statistics to see how I've actually done in the business and that kind of stuff. An alternate to Google Calendar is Apple Calendar. I think it's definitely inferior to Google Calendar, but it can be used. Apple Notes. It is probably my favorite note-taking app there is. I've tried Evernote, I've tried Notion, I've tried them all. I love Notion as well, and I'll get into that in a few minutes, but I really like Apple Notes because it's just very easy to use. I could just throw it on my phone. I can tell Siri to write a note for me. I can do whatever I need to do, and that note will be there for me in Apple Notes. Like many things nowadays, it's got a great search feature, so it's very easy to find stuff in the future. And if I can just throw everything in there that's unorganized, I can find it very easily, and it's very easy to stay organized. And I also just love the Apple ecosystem. I think that Apple Notes being able to sync from my phone to my computer to everywhere is very useful for me. And I've tried to use Google Docs in the past, but the app just isn't as good on my phone. Now I do use it on my computer and that kind of stuff, but that's kind of the way that I plan everything. As far as file management goes, Google Drive, Google Sheets, Google Docs, online and cloud-based platforms are the most important things that you can have because it backs everything up to the cloud. So when this MacBook here dies, when it just decides to go kaput, if you run it over with a truck, all your files are still there. They're all still right there ready for you, right in the backups. In addition to that, Google Docs is very collaborative. So if I share something with my creative director or one of my team members, it's going to be very easy for them to just go in and edit something on my documents and to store everything on the cloud. That's going to be very useful for me, and I think that it's very powerful to be able to have that collaborative. Even if you don't have a team, I think it's very powerful to have, because if you want to share it with a client or share it as a deliverable, I think that's very nice and very nice feature to have. The next thing I use is Notion. I've heard a lot of people using Obsidian, and I've tried out Obsidian a little bit. I haven't got super in depth into it yet, but Notion, I really love it because it just encompasses all the steps all in one place, whether that's Google Calendar or file management, notes, all of that goes into my Notion. I have a bunch of different databases that especially great for client portals, client dashboards, databases, that kind of stuff. I love Notion. And Airtable is another good one that's I didn't even include in this list, but it's very great for databases. But I love Notion just because I can throw everything in one place. Easy to share stuff with the team, and it's very easy to manage. And the one thing that I will say about Notion is it's decent at doing everything, but it's not super great at one thing. So what I mean by that is it's okay doing all this stuff, but sometimes it's just best to go back to the original source. So I used to try to do all my documents in Notion, for one example, and I realized that it just wasn't the best place to do documents, and the best place to do documents was in Google Docs. So I've started to use some automations to kind of link the two, and I think automations are super powerful. I'd highly recommend you power automate as much as possible. Use Zapier, automate your social media, do that kind of stuff, and I think that's a very powerful way to go about it as well. Outsourcing. That's the last thing. I talked about delegated earlier. I highly recommend any task that is not worth your time, whether that's your time, whatever it's worth. If that task is not worth it, outsource it. Whether that's video marketing, whether that's Twitter marketing, whether that's administrative tasks, whether that's doing your hair and makeup, whatever it is. What can be outsourced and what can't be outsourced, and then what is actually useful to be outsourced and what's not useful. Like in the last example, hair and makeup probably isn't something that you want to outsource. Playing with your kids, spending time with your family, not something you can outsource. So what can you outsource, and then what's actually beneficial to outsource, and then that'll give you a better understanding of how to actually flip it on its head, and then reverse engineer it to where you can actually figure out how to outsource stuff and what can actually be automated. So that's my full productivity system and how I manage all my tasks on a daily basis. I really think it's super powerful and a great way to learn how to be more productive and actually stop wasting as much time. One of the biggest problems I see, especially in teenagers nowadays, is that they just don't know how to be productive and how to avoid the burnout. And if you can have an all-encompassing system like this one, you're going to be able to actually build out the processes that you need to actually grow your business. And I will say, if you don't have a system that documents this stuff, write an SOP for platforms. Having a platform SOP has been super helpful for me, especially when new people come onto the team. I have a SOP built out in Notion that has all of the platforms on them, what they are, what we do in them, what they need access to, if they need access to it or not, who needs access to what, based on our team. And it's just very helpful at the end of the day to know what software there is, what you're paying for, what all that stuff is, and then know is it actually getting used and that kind of stuff as well. So if you found this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you just shared it with one like-minded friend so that they can see it as well, and so that I can actually spread this message. I do this show for free and pour a ton of money into it, so I'd really appreciate it if you just shared the show if you found any sort of value. So that's all I got for you today. Come back tomorrow for another episode.